In today's NBA, shooting the basketball is more important than ever. The league has embraced the three-point line in a much larger capacity than any other era of the league has, and the focus for many teams' game plans comes from finding success from deep. Shooters are also at a much larger abundance in the NBA today than ever before, so while there are many more options available, finding the best of the best is still pretty difficult, which brings us to the topic of today's video. Today, we'll be taking the one best shooter from all 30 NBA teams and rank them from best to worst. This was one of the most difficult rankings I've made to date because it's incredibly difficult to compare number one options that are burdened with much heavier workloads and often take more difficult three-point attempts off the dribble to players that are three-point specialists that often find most of their attempts in catch-and-shoot situations. I tried my best to weigh these two things as equally as I could, but by no means am I saying that it was an easy task. Before I get started though, make sure to subscribe to the channel as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. Starting at the bottom at number 30, we have Dillon Brooks of the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies honestly don't have many very good shooters on the roster this season, and Brooks leading the pack while only being a slightly above average shooter on low volume says all you need to know about this placement. At number 29, we have Nicolas Batum of the Charlotte Hornets. Just like the Grizzlies, the Hornets don't have many shooters either, and Batum leads the way for them despite shooting below league average from three in 4 of his last 5 seasons. At number 28, we have Kevin Love of the Cleveland Cavaliers. At his best, Love was an exceptional shooter, but last season he hovered around the league average mark. That, combined with the fact that he mostly relies upon catch-and-shoot opportunities, leaves him near the bottom. At number 27, we have Wayne Ellington of the New York Knicks. Ellington's role in the NBA is as a three-point specialist, as over 80% of his shot attempts do come from beyond the arc, but year after year, his three-point percentage fluctuates between average to above average, and plenty of other players can top that. At number 26, we have Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat. The Heat roster is comprised of a ton of moderately inefficient volume shooters from deep, and because of it, Butler gets the nod from the team for this list. He's never necessarily been more than an average shooter from three, but his ability to create his own shot at a high level and knock down countless clutch shots gets him on this list. At number 25, we have Malcolm Brogdon of the Indiana Pacers. Brogdon's three-point percentage is incredibly impressive at 42.6%, but his lack of volume and reluctance to even attempt threes at times unless they're open looks holds him back from being ranked higher than others that have proven they can take and make more difficult looks at a higher volume. At number 24, we have Bryn Forbes of the San Antonio Spurs. Forbes actually has the exact same three-point percentage as Brogdon, but what gives him the slight edge is the fact that he takes and makes more threes per game. At number 23, we have Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets. Murray is the go-to shot creator for the Nuggets off the dribble, meaning many of his attempts he gets from beyond the arc are those that he creates for himself. His percentage isn't necessarily comparable to those behind him, but his shot-making and creating ability in a bigger role within the offense can't go unaccounted for. At number 22, we have Luke Kennard of the Detroit Pistons. Kennard was drafted to be a shooter and so far has lived up to those expectations. Especially near the end of last season, he began to be much more heavily featured in the offense, and his efficiency didn't waver at all. At number 21, we have Khris Middleton of the Milwaukee Bucks. Middleton was an all-star last year, is a valuable secondary scorer alongside Giannis, and also a pretty good shooter. The Bucks system is pretty balanced, so his percentage from deep is slightly lower than you would hope from someone of his caliber though. At number 20, we have Tobias Harris of the Philadelphia 76ers. If we were talking about Clippers Tobias, he would be much higher on this list, but after getting traded to Philly, he declined as a shooter trying to adjust to a new team. This season, he will likely have a much bigger role on the team and should get back to being comfortable, so after this year he could rise up the list, but for now, the way he finished hurts his case. At number 19, we have DJ Augustin of the Orlando Magic. Augustin has been one of the most underrated shooters in the NBA throughout most of his career. Last season, he did a good job not only running the team's offense, but knocking down 42% of his threes as well. At number 18, we have Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. Young started very slowly shooting the ball in the pros, but as the season progressed, he showed exactly why he was drawing Steph Curry comparisons out of college. He has unlimited range, can pull up from anywhere, and has premier confidence. He will obviously need to improve his three-point percentage as time goes on, but his potential here is obvious. At number 17, we have Kyle Lowry of the Toronto Raptors. Lowry has been a high-volume three-point shot creator for years now, but last season his percentage began to slip. While he may be on the decline as a player, he is still a highly reliable shooter. At number 16, we have Karl-Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Every year he's been in the league, he's steadily trusted his jumper more and more. He takes almost 5 attempts from 3 per game, and makes 40% of them, and for a stretch big, that's awfully impressive. At number 15, we have Seth Curry of the Dallas Mavericks. His brother may get all the attention, but Seth is also quite the sharpshooter in the league. He shot a scorching 45% from deep last season, but the reason he's not higher on this list is his lack of volume compared to others. At number 14, we have Otto Porter Jr. of the Chicago Bulls. Porter has shot over 40% from 3 for 3 straight seasons now, and is one of the top 3-and-D wing players in the league. As a spot-up shooter, he's lethal, and after getting traded to the Bulls last season, his numbers skyrocketed, which could continue into next season. At number 13, we have Landry Shamet of the Los Angeles Clippers. Shamet was the biggest surprise in last year's draft and immediately proved himself to be amongst the best in the league at shooting the basketball. Being able to learn under JJ Redick for half the season definitely helped him translate to the league because he displays a lot of the same tendencies. At number 12, we have Danilo Gallinari of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Gallinari had a career year last season, averaging a career high in points while also shooting the ball at a scorching hot 43% from deep. At number 11, we have Kemba Walker of the Boston Celtics. Kemba's not necessarily a marksman by the traditional sense, but that's because his role on the team is much bigger than that. He's one of the best shot creators off the dribble, and the volume of threes he takes per game after creating those looks for himself definitely get taken into consideration for lists like this. Starting off the top 10 now, we have Joe Ingles of the Utah Jazz. Ingles is a vital part of the Jazz system, and his shooting opens up so many opportunities for those around him. Over the last 2 seasons, he's been taking about 6 threes per game, and he's made about 42% of those attempts. At number 9, we have Bradley Beal of the Washington Wizards. Over his career, he's shot above 40% from 3 in 3 different seasons, and while his percentage has somewhat declined recently, that's just because he stepped into a much larger role in the team's offense, as the first option over the last couple years with John Wall being out with injuries. At number 8, we have Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns. Booker's percentages from deep might be the most deceiving in the entire NBA, because while the averages may only be around league average or slightly above it, he's been basically the only competent offensive shot creator on his team for his entire career, so the way defenses key in on him make most of his shot attempts much more difficult than others. He's a deadly shooter that can heat up at a moment's notice, and when the Suns hopefully add more firepower around him, we'll see that. At number 7, we have CJ McCollum of the Portland Trail Blazers. This choice was very difficult because both him and Lillard are terrific shooters, but CJ slightly gets the edge because he too is someone that initiates his own offense, takes and makes difficult shots, and still maintains a terrific percentage from deep. Dame is undoubtedly the better overall scorer, but I see CJ as the slightly better shooter. At number 6, we have Danny Green of the Los Angeles Lakers. Green actually had the second highest three-point percentage in the league last season, and his shooting was a massive part of the Raptors' championship run. The Lakers desperately needed someone like him, and he was a big-time addition for them after missing out on Kawhi. At number 5, we have James Harden of the Houston Rockets. Harden takes three-point shots at a historic pace, taking 13 threes per game last season, which is the most anyone has ever taken in a season in the history of the NBA. He also made 37% of them, which based on that kind of volume is definitely impressive. Plus, when you take into account that pretty much every one of those shot attempts comes off the dribble or unassisted, it makes him a top-tier shooter, even if it's not in the traditional sense. At number 4, we have JJ Redick of the New Orleans Pelicans. Redick is one of the best shooters on the move the league has seen, and is much more than just a spot-up shooter. In his time in Los Angeles and Philadelphia, he was one of the hardest workers off the ball to get open and make an unprecedented amount of threes off balance and contested. At number 3, we have Joe Harris of the Brooklyn Nets. Harris was the NBA's leader in three-point percentage last season at a whopping 47%, and he also won the three-point contest. When it comes to players creating space on the wing, he's up there with the best, but these two guys ahead of him slightly edge him out because of their larger roles on their teams, while also maintaining outstanding efficiency. At number 2, we have Buddy Hield of the Sacramento Kings. Hield took a massive leap last season as an overall player, but his three-point percentage didn't waver a bit. He took 8 threes per game and still made 43% of them, all while averaging over 21 points per game. Since his arrival in Sacramento, he's been a big-time shot maker, and that should continue for years to come. And finally, at number 1 on this list, to no one's surprise, it's Steph Curry. Curry's been labeled the greatest shooter the league has ever seen for years now, and I don't even feel like that needs any explanation. His spot is uncontested and is absolutely elite in this regard. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.